Welcome to a new video with the electric trucker. Behind me is my e-Actros 600 with the parking lights and the illuminated star on. Today is Saturday, which means it's my last driving day of the week. Right now, I'm in Pitești in the middle of Romania, and I charged up at a shopping mall here. They've got 50 charging points, lots of AC chargers, several 50 kilowatt DC chargers, and even 3 HPC chargers. This week's destination is Turkey. The trailer is fully loaded and we're weighing just under 38 tons. For today, I'm aiming to get close to the Turkish border. The plan is to head past Bucharest toward Bulgaria. At the border, I'll stop again, check out the Bulgarian toll system, grab a coffee, and hopefully find a charging station. It's exactly 5:20, so still nice and early. I'll do a quick departure check and walk around the truck with a flashlight to make sure everything is ready. And with that, part 2 of the Turkey road trip begins. A beautiful sunrise here in Romania. Last night, I stayed in the shopping mall parking lot. It was semi-legal, but I didn't want to mess up my driving hours. So I just parked, closed the curtains, and stayed put. Someone did knock on the truck at night, but I just pretended to be asleep. That worked, and nobody came back. What's really cool are the digital side mirrors. With the curtains closed, you can still see the camera screens. Plus, in both the left and right doors, you have a button to activate the cameras, so you can still check behind the truck. That gives you a real sense of security, especially at night. In other trucks, you can't see anything unless you pull back the curtain, which immediately tells anyone outside that you're inside and awake. With this system, it's a lot better. The MAN I tested before even had the ramp mirror as a camera, which popped up on the center screen. That's next level. And it's a big advantage abroad, where you never really know what might happen. But so far, everything has been safe and calm. No problems at all. I'm still a bit away from the Bulgarian border, but the trucks are already lining up on the country road. I used the time to book my toll. It's a route-based ticket, valid for 1 day. But here's the problem. I can't actually book it. The website doesn't work, either on mobile or on the laptop. You can select everything, go through the payment process, but in the end, there's no confirmation, no email, nothing. At the gas station, they actually had 400 kilowatt Alpitronic chargers, but I couldn't reach them at all because the whole area was blocked with cars. There was no way to park the truck or even turn around. On the other side, there was a slower charger, but that one wasn't accessible either. I've been stuck here for over an hour at this toll station, where you pay the bridge toll to cross the Danube. That's not really the issue, though. The problem is trucks are backed up everywhere, and the drivers are starting to get restless. They're honking like crazy, even though it doesn't help at all. It looks like they're letting vehicles through in small waves. Up at the toll booth, I communicated my route with hand gestures, since the lady there spoke neither English nor German. I got my ticket, but it's a slightly different route than I had originally planned. But the charging station I want to use is still along the way, so it all works out. She gave me a couple of route options and I just picked one and paid. Now we'll see how things go for the rest of the day. This actually has nothing to do with the border itself. Since Romania and Bulgaria joined the Schengen area, the guy just told me there's construction work on the bridge. So my theory about them letting traffic through in waves was spot on. Nobody's really at fault here, it's just the construction, and we've all just got to wait it out. 4 hours passed, but we're now crossing the Danube on a huge, impressive bridge that runs over the forest and marks the Romania-Bulgaria border. Half the bridge is missing. Makes sense they only let through traffic one way at a time. You've seen those videos of trucks in Eastern Europe? And yeah, they really drive like that. There's a diesel Actros in a hurry, and it's getting a bit dangerous. People don't realize what kind of weapon they're driving. The temperatures here are extreme. 42 degrees. It wasn't even this hot in Spain. The truck is working hard to keep things cool. Inside it's comfortable, but you don't even want to imagine what it's like for the colleagues out there. Really tough jobs. That sign I can't quite interpret. Does it mean a 20-ton restriction when it's over 35 degrees? I mean, there are plenty of trucks driving here, so I'll keep going too. But it's wild how climate change, and living with climate change, is already such a big factor. We start with the bad news. The sun here is absolutely brutal. When you step outside, you instantly feel how insanely hot it is. I've already covered myself in sunscreen so I don't take any damage. I'm now at a Renault and Volvo dealer. There's also a restaurant and cafe with a terrace, a gas station, and truck parking in the back. Even some airplanes parked behind. And the real highlight, fast chargers with 240 kilowatts. And I can even park here with the trailer because there's so much space. No gates or barriers either. It was a bit of a gamble though. On the map, it only showed an old 50 kilowatt station, but in the app, the new ones were listed. 6 chargers at 240 kilowatts each. They're made by Sunro, a Chinese manufacturer I've never seen in Germany. It's a dispenser system with 2 CCS plugs. I think the cables are uncooled, but they can handle 1000 volts and 500 amps and actually hold 240 kilowatts. Pretty clever. Instead of advertising 300 kilowatts and never reaching it in these temperatures, they just write 240 kilowatts, which is realistic. The rectifier cabinet is quite compact, rated at 480 kilowatts. That power is shared across 3 dispensers, so in total 6 plugs. 2 trucks can charge at full power, and if a third plugs in, the power gets split. But honestly, that's totally fine. We're in the middle of Bulgaria, and it's pretty amazing to be able to charge here at all. And the price is great too, just 35 cents per kilowatt hour with the Finesse app. We've got about 200 kilometers ahead, but it's through rough terrain, so it'll take around 3.5 hours. The first stretch is still okay, but toward the end, it gets really chaotic. There isn't a proper rest area either, just a spot along the highway before Turkey. That's where I'll land, and it fits nicely within my driving hours. From there, I'll see how things look. So I need to decide whether to cross the border today. Otherwise, I'll take my weekly rest. I'll shorten it, of course. Instead of the full 45 hours, I'll reduce it to 24, so I can continue right away on Monday. The rules say you have to make up that missing time in the following weeks, but the priority right now is covering ground and getting closer to the destination. I'll definitely park somewhere on Sunday. I haven't gotten very far because the police stopped me. My interpretation of the road sign was correct. Trucks over 20 tons aren't allowed to drive when the outside temperature is above 35 degrees Celsius. Almost all the trucks have been pulled over. The police are up ahead, and now I just have to wait until it drops below 35 degrees Celsius. Real-life impact of climate change. Today is definitely not my lucky day. I'm stuck here, but at least the battery is not empty and I've got air conditioning. I have to wait until 8, but that means I won't get to where I planned, and my driving hours are running out. I started really early at 5, so now I can only drive for 3 more hours. This means the route I already paid for I can only drive 3/4 at most. But that's just logistics. In Bulgaria, there's no strict Sunday driving ban except on certain routes, and in Turkey, it's similar. But I need to take my weekly rest period somewhere. Also, I moved the mobile charger up in my bunk. You can keep sleeping. And now I'm going to lie down for a bit. The first trucks are rolling, and it's actually 8:30 and 35 degrees. They really take this seriously. The police are letting trucks through, but the question is, what I do. I'm not blocking anyone, so others can still get out. I could take my weekly rest period here since a few hours have already passed, but the spot has no facilities and terrible internet. But my route toll is valid until 10 in the morning tomorrow, so I can wait 4 more hours until my 9-hour rest is done, then drive a short stretch and arrive near the Turkish border early in the morning. There I'll take my full 24-hour rest, and Monday morning I can continue. Else I would leave Sunday evening, and that would completely mess up my daily rhythm. Let's go. It's just past midnight, and I'm not the only one with this idea. Other trucks are also starting around the same time, using a similar strategy. Now I'm heading through the countryside at night. Hopefully nothing goes wrong, but I really want to make progress and get toward the Turkish border. An interesting test because this guy behind me is driving with full high beams, and he's even German. The mirrors dims pretty well. That's the big question with digital side mirrors. How do they behave? This wasn't uncomfortable at all, and is definitely comparable to a traditional mirror. On these country roads, the assistance systems are super valuable. The high beam assistant is something you rarely need in Germany. I usually leave it off because on the Autobahn with guardrails, it tends to switch on unnecessarily. But out here, it's super practical, especially when you need both hands on the wheel. It could toggle a bit faster when another car passes, but that's probably just a balance thing. If you make it more sensitive, it would switch more often. Overall, really cool, and with the PPC, you can fully focus on the road. I'm now in Svilengrad and really close to the Turkish border. There's even a sign for Istanbul, 265 kilometers to go. Makes sense to charge here again, since I don't know exactly what to expect in Turkey. In this roundabout, there's a 480 kilowatt charger, fully truck compatible, just perfect. It's a bit unexpected to find a fast charging station here, and with so much space, really an ideal truck charging spot. I just plugged in and started charging, and it actually charged at 400 kilowatts for about a minute. But then everything went dead. The charger is completely out. No power at all. It probably has never been stress tested like this. The problem is, even the Alpatronic backup charger, a 150 kilowatt unit, also went dead. That's a shame, because it could have been a good fallback. Finesse actually knows I am driving to Turkey. I don't know how they found out, but when I charged today at the Volvo dealer, the CEO emailed me directly, and he even recommended this charger. Really top-notch communication. You can tell he's passionate about his work. Of course, it didn't quite work out, but that's an extreme test. If I had known, I might have reduced the load. But no need to call the hotline. They notice it immediately when it goes offline. And it's probably just a matter of resetting a protection switch or something with the fuse. Now I have to figure out my next move and improvise a bit. But that's all part of the adventure. Next attempt. There's a small, well-lit parking lot, and I think it's a good spot to park. Plenty of space, and up ahead there's another 400 kilowatt charger. I'm parked at this charger now, and the cables are actually pretty long. I could have positioned the truck differently. I've never seen this charger type before. Can't even find a nameplate on it. It's giving 344 kilowatts. Not the 400 it says, but honestly, in this situation I can't complain. The location is actually better, since I can park properly. The other one was in the middle of a casino area where I'd have needed to move again. This way I can back in somewhere and spend Sunday here. I'll also send Finesse some feedback. It's valuable for them to get a real stress test like this. Usually, charge point operators have to pay to simulate peak loads, since they don't have trucks like this available. So maybe they'll fix the other site in the next few days. And on the way back, I can test it again. Not a big rest stop here though, so I'll see if I can find a toilet somewhere. But in exactly 24 hours at 5 in the morning, I can roll out again. Perfect timing to start the new week. Now the exciting part begins. It's Monday just after 5 in Bulgaria, and I've spent the past 24 hours parked right back there. It was quite pleasant, but over 40 degrees. The parking air conditioning is so important with temperatures like this. This morning, the battery was still at 98%, even though I had full climate control running the whole time. Not sure if those first 2% behaved the same as the rest, because that would mean about 0.5 kilowatts constant draw, which seems unlikely, but either way, it works great. Now comes the tricky part, the border crossing. It's 30 kilometers away, and technically I need Bulgarian toll again, but the website is still offline. I'll stop at a gas station just to show I tried, and then I'll head for the Turkish border. I stopped at a Shell station, which turned out to be a good move. There was a service terminal for the toll system, and I was able to book a route ticket. The tricky part was that you have to type the cities in Cyrillic, which was a bit of a challenge. I think this was the first scam attempt. I just wanted to drive straight to the border when someone flagged me down. I don't even know if it was police or someone else, and told me I had to pull into a parking lot and wait there for 2 hours before crossing. I didn't want to argue, since I don't know exactly how the process works. So I did a quick U-turn, and another guy tried to pull me over and check me as well. Honestly, it didn't look like official police at all. I just told him very confidently that I had to turn around, that I was in a hurry, and he let me go. Now they told me to pull off here. No idea what I'm supposed to do, but I guess I'll find out soon. I can't really tell if this is customs or just some private parking operator. At least I'm not alone, which is always good. There's always at least one other person with the same problem. I received a pager. The guy explained that everything here runs on a scheduled system. In the end, I'll also have to pay for parking. I guess I'll just trust that this is legit. At least I'm not the only one waiting here. He said it'll take about 7 hours. The whole setup makes a pretty good impression. You drive in, get a pager, and they assign you a spot in the queue. The area itself is actually really nice and modern. There's a supermarket, a restaurant, a barber, and in the back you can buy SIM cards. So I'll check if I can get a Turkish one there. Plus, you always know your position in line. That's something you'd wish for at many places in Germany too. Here they've got a dashboard showing all the trucks in line, and I'm number 110. So it'll probably take 5 to 6 hours. One person said 2, another said 7, so the truth is probably somewhere in between. I could have used this time for my weekly rest break, but then I'd have to interrupt it once it's my turn, so it's better to just wait it out. That way I've got a full shift left once things move, and then I can hop in the truck and head for the border. Customs clearance won't happen here anyway. That all takes place further up ahead. Some really cool trucks are parked around here, like a Ukrainian Renault Magnum. I just spotted 2 German heavy haulers. I actually saw both of them at the Hungarian-Austrian border when we all set off. Kind of cool that we cross paths again here. Technically, they could already be on their way, but they're probably still finishing their weekly rest, so they'll be stuck here a few more hours. I, on the other hand, already did mine, so we'll likely end up leaving around the same time. That really shows that an electric truck is just as fast as a diesel truck on such a long-distance route. My pager just went off. It's right before 10 and I'm already moving. So much for that 6-hour wait. I can already see the Turkish flag, so I'm further than earlier. What's beeping now is the CO2 sensor. It keeps going off no matter if the window's open or closed. I just went through Bulgarian customs, and it actually went pretty smoothly. I handed over all sorts of documents, and apparently that was enough. They only mentioned that the rear axle was overloaded, even though I had been really careful with the loading. They didn't give me the exact figure, though. I had to pay customs fees, which ended up costing €5 more. I gave them 3 copies of everything I had and only got 1 back. I went back quickly and they said, "Oh yeah, here's the second one. Otherwise that could have caused problems later on." Second checkpoint done. This one was just a passport check and vehicle papers, and they asked what I was carrying. The ID check went fine. Now they're spraying something on me. I have no idea what it is. I've seen this a few times already at the border. They weighed me and then wanted 290 lira from me. And where am I supposed to get lira? I thought I'd get some after crossing the border. So he just kept my vehicle registration. I withdrew some lira and then he gave it back to me. Luckily, he didn't check the axles. Now comes the actual customs inspection. It worked. It took a while because you need this CEMT permit here to transport goods outside the EU. That's a lot of paperwork, but I had everything with me. I was unlucky because they were on lunch break, so I had to wait another hour, but luckily it was under a roof and in the shade. Now I'm actually in Turkey. The next challenge is getting the toll sorted.
So.
And I'm in Turkey. Now I need a SIM card.
Turkcell ist gut.
It's already looking promising. There's a gas station and there's a Trugo fast charger. I'll need a Turkish SIM card to use it. But the output is 1000 volts, perfect for a truck. That means from now on, when I spot a charger like this from a distance, I can already tell it's 1000 volts. And the charging power is around 180 kilowatts. The Turkey adventure begins. I've got a Turkish SIM card with a ton of data, so nothing goes wrong and I can activate the charger. I also got the HGS sticker for the toll system, which cost 160 euros. I'm not sure if it's read via NFC or by camera. If there's not enough balance, you'll have to pay later. My first goal is to reach a rest stop just past Istanbul. It's about 300 kilometers, and I have a good feeling that I'll be able to charge there. Now I can finally make some distance. I'm driving to Aksaray via Istanbul, Bolu, Ankara, and then further out into the middle of nowhere. But it's actually only 1000 kilometers, so it's not an impossible distance anymore. Having a GPS with real-time traffic and online data is really handy. That's why I like using my smartphone for navigation. But having a backup truck GPS is also nice. I've gotten used to entering routes into the Mercedes system, but it doesn't have Turkish maps. It literally stops at the border. Apparently they didn't expect any Actros to ever drive into Turkey. Product management didn't plan for the electric trucker. But the PPC system still knows its stuff. It has the data, but no map data.
Chechenis.
No idea what that means. Maybe have a good trip. Next goal, crossing the Bosporus. That'll be the first time the Eactros and me get to Asia. And of course, there's wind power here too. A quick note about the Bulgarian charging operator Finesse. The 480 kilowatt charger that should have handled the load only lasted 3 minutes before cutting out. The CEO actually messaged me without me having to do anything. He saw it in the back end and sent a team out on Sunday to analyze it. They apparently never had a vehicle charge this fast before. The transformer had been set to a lower level, which triggered the shutdown. Now they've set it to 1 megawatt. Why that high? I have no idea, but it's good to know I can use it on the way back. It's definitely going into the eTrucker app. I don't think this was a problem at all. It's an extreme test that most operators aren't prepared for. It's great that I could help and that they learned from it. A lot can be fixed with good communication. There are a lot of electric cars driving around here. Up front, a Tesla Model Y facelift. Over there, a BYD CLU. I haven't even seen that one in Germany. I think we're approaching the highlight of the whole tour, the enormous Bosporus Bridge connecting Europe and Asia. Here's a rest stop, and my plan is to spend the night here since I don't have much shift time left. Let's check the situation here. First leg in Turkey completed. The highways are really easy to handle, and I've now arrived at the charging park I had picked out beforehand and stay here overnight. Tomorrow morning I'll head out again and I should be able to reach Aksaray and deliver the cargo. Getting in here was a bit of a fight. The rest stop is completely packed because of a super popular restaurant, so maneuvering with the trailer was tough. I ended up unhitching the trailer up front and reversing into the charger. And about the so-called charging desert in Turkey. Honestly, it's the opposite. This place is huge, with a tall 4-meter roof covering multiple operators all side by side. I first tried Sage 5 since it's a Siemens unit, but it wouldn't process my credit card. I switched to ZES. One big advantage when there are several providers right next to each other. You just go to the one that works. With ZES, the cables were super short, so it was a struggle. Thanks to the air suspension, I was high enough to be over the curb and reach the plug. Plug positioning on the truck is such a pain. I can't say it enough. This charger is a Vestel unit, a Turkish brand I'd already used before. It's labeled 240 kilowatt, but in reality it only delivers 180 kilowatts. That seems to be a protocol issue, and it's also listed for 180 in the app. Still, that's fine for me. I'll fill up here, move the truck, and set off in the morning with a full battery. One trick I've started using: instead of downloading every app from every unknown operator, I just asked the charger manufacturers directly, Alpitronic and Siemens, where they'd already delivered units. Both send me lists for Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey. So big thanks to them, that's basically like doing a reverse Google search by hardware. Pretty funny and surprisingly effective. But along the highways you usually find 800-volt chargers, so it's not really hard to recharge. What a beautiful sunrise here in Turkey. Today's the final leg of my journey. I'm heading east from Istanbul toward Bolu, where there's a decent charging park, and then continuing south past Ankara all the way to Aksaray. The whole drive is just under 9 hours, and the second stretch is over 4.5 hours. That's actually one of the most common mistakes I've made recently. Picking a charging stop that looks central on the map, but not noticing that one side of the trip ends up too long so that I need an extra stop. Not a big issue this time, but still something to keep in mind. I also reviewed yesterday's charging session at ZES. It came out to 37 cents per kilowatt hour. Honestly, that's really fair pricing, something we'd love to see in Germany, and totally workable for electric trucks. But I was a bit surprised it wasn't cheaper here in Turkey. Maybe it's because ZES tends to offer higher charging power, and there could well be cheaper options with other providers. There are so many ZES stations. There are on-charge and Tesla superchargers too. What kind of charging park is this? The 45-minute break is working perfectly. I can stay parked with the trailer, and the charger is working flawlessly. And this charging park is just insane. I walked the whole thing. It's packed with chargers. There's even a 480 kilowatt unit here, so there's definitely no lack of power. There are more stations with roofs, and in the back, there's even a battery-buffered charger, plus a few superchargers. Basically, everything's from slower charging to super fast ones, with or without a roof. Perfect competition. I counted 60 fast chargers rated between 180 and 480 kilowatts, most with 2 plugs, so nearly 100 charging spots. And these Vestel stations are really solid. Super reliable, easy to activate, and you can see from a distance whether they're in use and how far along the session is. And this one's been holding a steady 400 kilowatts for a full half hour. Really impressive. Nobody can say charging in Turkey is hard. These are all 800 volt stations with 1000 volt capability. I was wrong before thinking those 180 kilowatt station could be limited to 500 volts. And on the way back I can charge from either direction. There's a massive mall, a huge supermarket, buses stop, and in general rest stops in Turkey are kind of a meeting point. People come here just to have lunch, meet family, hang out, and all the truckers and travelers benefit from that. In Germany, rest stops are way more functional. You only really go there because you have to, and eating there is usually pretty expensive. Final part of the trip. The last stretch is a bit longer, a little over 400 kilometers, but at this point nothing can go wrong since I've got enough range in the battery to make it. On the way out of the rest stop, I saw almost the same amount of chargers on the other side. They're prepared for the next 10 years. And when heading south through Turkey, you naturally pass by spots like this. Perfect for grabbing a snack, having a meal, and charging at the same time. Honestly, a dream setup. I'm in Ankara now, a massive city, but I'm just passing by. And I did it. I'm in Aksaray. Only about 10 kilometers left to the plant. I've still got 22% left in the battery, which means over 100 kilometers of range. Total distance for the trip, 3,717 kilometers. There it is, the Actros 600 in Aksaray, right in the middle of Anatolia, Turkey. Everything went exactly as planned, and I made it here. Back there is the Mercedes truck plant, where I'll be heading shortly. Right now, I'm at the Ecol Depot, the main freight company handling transports for Mercedes-Benz trucks here in Turkey. That's also who we did this job for. I'm waiting on the customs papers for the import, and then I can drive over to the plant, unload the cargo, and pick up the new load. Hopefully, I'll also get a chance to charge there. The customs papers will be ready tomorrow, and today I couldn't continue even if I wanted to because my driving hours are up. That means tomorrow I'll start off with a full load and a full battery, heading back towards Germany and then straight on to Portugal. And this really wasn't a challenge. Every issue I ran into was just standard long-haul trucking stuff that any diesel truck would have faced too. Border checks, traffic jams, road closures, charging infrastructure wasn't a problem at all. You can see that while Germany is still ahead in infrastructure, other countries are catching up fast. We need to stay ambitious with technology and commitment so we don't lose the edge. In Turkey, there are huge charging parks at almost every rest stop, even though the share of electric cars is much lower than in Germany. See you in the next video. Greetings from Aksaray, right in the heart of Turkey. Until then, ciao.